Tonight, we are going to gently explore the strange and mysterious world of quantum physics. There is nothing you need to remember, nothing you need to solve. Just let the ideas move slowly around you. Quantum physics is the science of the very small, smaller than atoms, smaller than anything we can see. At this tiny scale, reality behaves in ways that feel almost like a dream. So take a slow breath, and let's begin. Imagine breaking something into smaller and smaller pieces. A rock becomes pebbles. Pebbles become dust. Dust becomes atoms. For many years, scientists believed atoms were solid and unbreakable, but they were not. Inside atoms, there are smaller particles. Electrons move around a nucleus, and inside the nucleus are even smaller parts. Quantum physics studies how these tiny particles behave. But here is the strange part. They do not behave like normal objects. They do not follow the rules we see in everyday life. At the quantum level, things become uncertain, soft, almost fluid. Reality at this scale is not fixed. It is flexible, not solid, not rigid, but shifting gently beneath the surface of what we think is stable. Before quantum physics, scientists believed the universe worked like a giant machine. Everything had a clear position. Everything had a clear path. If you knew the starting point, you could predict the future. This idea felt safe. It felt comforting, like a clock ticking steadily forward. But at the beginning of the 20th century, strange experiments began to challenge this belief. Scientists noticed that tiny particles did not follow predictable paths. Sometimes they behaved like solid objects. Sometimes they behaved like waves of energy. This confusion led to the birth of quantum theory, a theory that suggests reality is not fixed, but full of probabilities. Instead of saying, this particle is here, quantum physics says, this particle might be here, or there, or somewhere in between. Until we look. This idea can feel uncomfortable, but it can also feel gentle. It suggests that the universe is not rigid. It is flexible, soft, and full of quiet possibilities. In our everyday world, things are clear. A ball is a ball. A wave is a wave. But in the quantum world, particles can behave like waves, and waves can behave like particles. Imagine dropping a pebble into calm water. Ripples spread outward. That is how a wave behaves. Now imagine an electron. Instead of staying in one place like a tiny ball, it can spread out like a ripple. It behaves like both a particle and a wave. This is called wave-particle duality. It means reality is not as solid as it appears. It depends on how we look at it. Reality at the smallest level does not choose one form. It remains open. Open to interpretation, open to interaction, open to possibility. One of the most famous experiments in physics is the double-slit experiment. It is simple, but it changes everything. Scientists fired tiny particles toward a wall with two small openings. If the particles were tiny balls, they should pass through one slit or the other. But something unexpected happened. They created a wave pattern on the wall behind, as if each particle passed through both slits at the same time, as if it behaved like a wave. Even more strangely, when scientists tried to measure which slit the particle passed through, the wave pattern disappeared. The particle behaved normally again. It was as if observing the particle changed its behavior, as if reality reacts when we look at it. Scientists repeated this experiment many times, with different particles, different materials, different distances, and every time the result was similar. When not observed, particles behaved like waves. When observed, They behaved like particles. It was as if the universe responds to interaction, not emotionally, not magically, but fundamentally. At the smallest level, nothing exists completely alone. Let the ideas slow. Let them soften. Let them drift quietly through your mind. We will continue exploring this gentle mystery. Now let us continue slowly. Take another gentle breath, and imagine the quantum world again. The double-slit experiment leaves us with an important question. Why does observation change behavior? In everyday life, observing something does not change it. A chair remains a chair whether we look at it or not. But in the quantum world, measurement matters. When scientists measure a particle, they must interact with it. They shine light on it. They use instruments. They disturb it in subtle ways. And that interaction changes the result. At this tiny scale, nothing can be observed without being touched in some way. Reality is delicate. It cannot be examined without influence. This does not mean the universe depends on human thoughts, but it does mean interaction is fundamental. Nothing exists in perfect isolation. Everything influences everything else, even at the smallest scale, and that idea can feel strangely comforting, because it suggests connection. It suggests that separation is not absolute. It suggests that everything participates in a quiet relationship. Another important idea in quantum physics is uncertainty. The uncertainty principle tells us something surprising. We cannot know everything about a particle at the same time. If we measure its position very precisely, we lose precision in its momentum. If we measure its momentum very precisely, we lose precision in its position. This is not a problem with our tools. It is a property of nature itself. Reality contains uncertainty at its core, not chaos, not randomness without meaning, but a built-in softness, a limit to how sharply things can be defined. Imagine trying to hold water tightly in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. The quantum world is similar. The more precisely we try to define it, the more it resists absolute certainty. And perhaps that is beautiful. Perhaps the universe protects its mystery. Perhaps it is meant to remain slightly undefined. Let us imagine the electron once more, not as a tiny hard dot, but as a cloud of probability, a gentle region where it might appear. It does not travel in a clear line. It exists as a range of possibilities. Only when interaction occurs does one possibility become real, and even then, only briefly, before returning to a spread of probabilities again. It is like mist in the early morning, soft, floating, difficult to capture, yet undeniably present. As we slow down further, imagine the universe built entirely from these gentle uncertainties. Every object around you, every sound, every sensation, all constructed from tiny particles that do not behave in rigid ways. And yet, together, they create stability. They create structure. They create the world you experience. Uncertainty at the smallest level creates certainty at the large scale. Softness creates solidity. Possibility creates reality. That contrast is one of the quiet wonders of quantum physics. Now let us go even deeper. Imagine the entire universe as a vast field of tiny vibrations. Not solid blocks, not fixed shapes, but patterns of energy constantly moving. At the quantum level, particles are not truly objects. They are excitations in invisible fields. A field is something that exists everywhere, even in empty space. In fact, according to quantum theory, empty space is not truly empty. It is filled with fluctuations. Tiny bursts of activity, particles appearing and disappearing in incredibly short moments. This is called quantum fluctuation. Even nothingness is not truly nothing. It is alive with quiet motion. That idea alone can feel surreal. The space around you, the air in your room, even the darkness behind your closed eyes. All of it contains subtle movement at scales too small to see. And yet, we experience calm. We experience stillness. Stillness built on motion. Certainty built on uncertainty. Now imagine the early universe, long before stars formed, long before planets existed. A tiny fluctuation may have grown, expanded, stretched across unimaginable distances. Some scientists believe quantum fluctuations helped shape the structure of the cosmos. Galaxies, clusters, vast cosmic webs, all influenced by tiny variations in energy at the smallest scales. It is almost poetic. The largest structures in existence shaped by the smallest whispers of motion. From the smallest uncertainty emerged the grandest patterns. Let us return to something simpler. Imagine yourself breathing slowly. Each breath is steady, calm, reliable. But inside your body, particles move in complex ways. Electrons shift, atoms vibrate. Cells interact through chemical exchanges. Everything inside you is activity. And yet you feel still. You feel whole. You feel grounded. This is the quiet miracle of emergence. Simple rules at small scales creating stability at large scales. Uncertainty creating order. Softness creating structure. Possibility becoming experience. Quantum physics does not make the universe cold or mechanical. It makes it subtle. It reminds us that reality is layered. At one level, things are solid and predictable. At another level, they are fluid and uncertain. Both levels exist together. Both are true in their own way. And perhaps there is comfort in that. You do not need to define everything sharply. You do not need perfect certainty. You can exist as you are, a collection of tiny probabilities forming a stable being, just like the universe itself. As we slowly come toward rest, imagine the particles around you calming, not stopping, but softening. Imagine the waves of probability becoming gentle ripples, the vast quantum fields settling into quiet motion. You are part of that motion, part of that field, connected to everything at the smallest scale. You do not need to understand every equation. You do not need to picture every experiment. Just allow the idea of softness to remain. Soft reality, soft uncertainty, soft connection. Let the science fade into background quiet. Let the mystery remain without tension, and let yourself drift. Drift into the same gentle uncertainty that builds the universe. There is nothing to calculate, nothing to prove. Only quiet patterns, only subtle waves, and rest. Let us slow down even further. There is no need to think now. Only listen. Only breathe. Quantum physics may seem complex, but at its heart, it speaks about something very simple: possibility. Instead of sharp certainty, it offers openness. Instead of rigid lines, it offers gentle patterns. Imagine a calm lake at night. The surface looks still, but beneath it, water moves slowly. Small currents flow. Tiny ripples travel outward. The quantum world is like that lake. It appears solid from far away. But inside, everything is motion. Everything is interaction. Everything is subtle change. Think again about the idea of probability. Before a measurement, a particle does not choose one single position. It exists in many potential states, not in chaos, but in quiet possibility. Only when interaction occurs does one outcome become visible, and even then, only for a moment. before returning to possibility again. This constant shift between potential and reality is gentle. It is not dramatic. It is continuous. Like breathing, in and out, expansion and contraction, possibility and outcome, again and again. You can imagine the entire universe breathing in this way, expanding, settling, fluctuating. And within this vast system, you are present, a temporary pattern of particles, a stable wave within a larger ocean. Your thoughts, too, are patterns, neurons firing, electrical signals moving, tiny quantum processes deep within matter. And yet, you experience calm. You experience awareness. From uncertainty emerges experience. From probability emerges feeling. The uncertainty principle reminds us that not everything can be pinned down. The more tightly we try to define reality, the more it slips beyond exact measurement. And perhaps that mirrors life itself. Not everything must be fully known. Not everything must be fixed. There can be comfort in not having all the answers. There can be peace in allowing things to remain slightly undefined. Quantum physics gently suggests that softness is built into the fabric of existence. Reality itself allows space, allows movement, allows change. As you lie quietly, imagine the smallest particles in your body, electrons shifting, atoms vibrating softly, none of it chaotic, all of it following deep, subtle rules. Rules that allow structure, rules that allow stability, rules that allow you to rest safely. The universe has existed for billions of years. Through expansion, through transformation, through constant motion at the smallest scales, and still, it holds together. Still, it remains balanced. That balance includes you. Let your thoughts become lighter now. You do not need to follow every idea. You do not need to hold on to every concept. Allow them to pass like gentle waves. Quantum physics does not demand understanding. It invites curiosity. It invites wonder. And then, it invites stillness. As the ideas fade, only quiet remains. Only softness, only the slow rhythm of breath. Just as particles drift through possibility, you can drift into rest. Nothing to measure. Nothing to observe. Nothing to define. Only gentle uncertainty. Only calm. Only sleep.